Communities around the world are currently faced with a number of large-scale environmental challenges, including dangerous, irreversible climate change. Many of these challenges stem from cities and our resource-intensive urban lifestyles. Fortunately, an array of concrete solutions to these challenges are already being developed and implemented in cities around the globe. So we set off on an inspirational journey to explore the most innovative ideas, technologies and initiatives being used by cities today as they strive to create more livable and sustainable cities, and with the potential to stimulate wide-scale change, which would set us on the path towards a one-planet future where humans live in harmony with nature.
The struggle for a sustainable future on this planet will be won or lost in our cities. In the next 30 years, we expect a doubling of the global urban population, and with that, a doubling of the global urban infrastructure. That is a very short window of opportunity to get things right. So urban investment decisions taken today will determine whether people will be locked into resource inefficient and fossil fuel dependent infrastructures and lifestyles, or if they will enable cities to become places where we can live attractive and healthy and sustainable lives.
Over the next 30 years, more than 5 times the global GDP will be invested in urban infrastructure and its use. So it's critical that those investments are made in a sustainable and resilient way.
A number of actions that cities have to take and actually take together is, first of all, to try to become low carbon, to shift from fossil fuel towards renewable energy. Secondly, to become resilient. We are going to face the impacts of climate change, and they will be different from one part in the world to the other part. We have to look, thirdly, into how can our existing ecosystems, our biodiversity we have in urban areas, how can that support us in our sustainability?
Well, the urban challenge in the world is tremendous. I mean, we'll soon have 75% of the world population living in cities, and I would argue that the number one challenge for cities is actually not inside the city. It's to recognize that it has to be sustainable in its entire inflows and outflows of energy, of water, of food, of all materials. So to see itself like a part of a wider ecosystem, so that you plan every urban area for every citizen, that it keeps itself within a circular economic model in terms of resources in and out. And the second most important is to build resilient cities.
So how are leading green cities around the world responding to this enormous challenge? One of the most ambitious climate action plans has been adopted by the city of Vancouver, whose goal is to run the city on 100% renewable energy by 2050. Vancouver's plan focuses on vibrant and inclusive neighborhoods and creating a city that meets the needs of generations to come. They intend to achieve this by working with a broad range of stakeholders throughout society.
When I first campaigned for mayor in 2008, one of my key priorities was to make Vancouver the world's greenest city by 2020. So we put together an action plan, worked with citizens and businesses and neighborhoods, put together 10 targets in water, food, clean air, green business, green jobs, reducing our carbon, reducing our consumption, and zero waste.
At the beginning, we were worried this was too much for people, like that they wouldn't be able to see a point of entry into it, and we were totally wrong. We've had over 35,000 residents, 180 organizations who engaged in writing our plan, tens of thousands of residents who've been involved in implementing, because when they write the plan, they own the plan. And as a result, we've had over 150 separate city policy initiatives that range from big farms in the middle of a dense city like Vancouver, waste recovery that we've had technology that we're doing, green economy. We've raised our green jobs by 19%. We've reduced our water usage by 18%. Greenhouse gas emissions are way down because many more people are biking and walking and taking transit. But it's really the innovation is how you marry a government to the residents, to the businesses, to the different civil society groups, and make it a collective effort.
Creating a fossil fuel-free city is possible, but requires a shift to green energy in all areas.
Our new goal is to be 100% renewable in the City of Vancouver with all of our energy sources. And it will be a challenge with transportation in particular. We don't know when we will have electric vehicles for the whole city. We're waiting on the industry side to get a clear sense of what year that's possible. We're planning out the timeline right now, basically making decisions to eliminate fossil fuels from our city.
Many experts today refer to renewable energy technologies as disruptive, in the sense that they're radically different from conventional technologies and are so much better for consumers and society that they will very quickly disrupt current paradigms.
Once the technology is ripe, they happen very quickly. And I think electric cars and solar energy and wind energy, they're ripe. A lot of people think they have these forecasts for, 2040, we're having just a bit more percentage of these. I think the transformation is going to happen so quickly that most of these forecasts are going to be quite short, quite off, because these are disruptive technologies. They're better technologies for the consumers, and we've crossed the price points where they make sense. So once that happens, it's basically a matter of awareness getting around, word of mouth, the understanding, the experience. And as that grows, it grows exponentially. And we're going to see a rapid, I think, transformation, comparable to the Industrial Revolution or such.
So this is a solar energy installation here in Vancouver, British Columbia. In fact, when we first started 10 years ago, people told us we couldn't do this, that it didn't make sense here. But we recognized that there were some people that wanted to install solar, that wanted to do something leading edge, that wanted to do something to reduce their environmental footprint. So we started with these panels, this system. Since then, the installation growth has been about 40% per year. So in fact, it could be done here. There was a demand. People want to see more renewable energy installed locally.
The research that we're doing is looking at the transportation sector, because that's a huge part of our greenhouse gas emissions and about how we can connect our transportation system to renewables. And we're finding that really electric mobility is an essential part of meeting our deep greenhouse gas emissions reductions. So to have an 80% reduction by 2050, we need to have a big fleet of electric vehicles really almost in every city around the world. And the research that we're doing found that there's a lot of potential demand. There's a lot of consumers out there who'd be willing to pay extra for some type of plug-in hybrid vehicle or pure electric vehicle. But currently, they can't do that because it's not available in the model they want or in the variety or color or whatever it is that they want. And so what we're finding is that there's some areas that are showing us good examples of policy that can trigger that change. And California has the best example that we found.
California right now is leading the standards. They've said that 10% of the vehicles sold in California have to be electric vehicles. They have committed to an 80% reduction in greenhouse gases. If other states, Washington, Oregon, British Columbia, Ontario, Quebec, and 9 eastern states were to adopt that kind of California policy, we would create a demand for electric vehicles that would make them very commonplace, and we would get to the point where, using the weight of states and the weight of cities, we could begin to transform our emissions. And that's where we need to go, because we cannot wait for national governments to take us there anymore. And once people understand that an electric vehicle is actually cheaper, it saves them money, all of a sudden that will turn the market in a massive way.
Like transportation, housing is also a major challenge in the aim of creating sustainable cities. The Vancouver Convention Centre is a prime example of how buildings can be designed to minimize environmental impacts.
We're here at the Vancouver Convention Centre's West Building, which opened in April 2009. And it's actually one of the greenest convention facilities in the world. And just to give you a few examples, we have really visible, sustainable features such as our 6-acre living roof, which is the largest in Canada. We have a very sophisticated black water recycling treatment plant in-house, as well as we utilize seawater heating and cooling because we're right on the harbor. Here at the Vancouver Convention Centre's living roof, this is 6 acres and it's actually one of the 10 largest green roofs in the world. So what makes this green roof really unique is the fact that we've chosen plants that are all indigenous to British Columbia. So we've actually planted over 400,000 plants and grasses on top of this area. It really connects to other green spaces here in downtown Vancouver. So if you're looking at downtown Vancouver from an aerial perspective, you're going to see that this space connects to the park next door and it connects to Stanley Park. And it really was part of the vision of our architects.
Seoul, the mega-city and capital of South Korea, has seen a remarkable positive change thanks to courageous green initiatives. The city has been recognized for its determination to ramp up the use of renewable energy and building citizen engagement.
There are maybe many diverse options and policies to combat the climate change issues. The city like Seoul has more than 10 million citizens, so we should provide more environmental transportations and also bring solutions to the buildings, which is more environmental. But most important thing is to mobilize the citizens' engagement and participation in this process. During our development period, there are too many roads and too many cars, and citizens are accustomed to using cars. So instead of it, we should build the more eco-friendly public transportation, such as subway or bikes. So I'm really encourage the citizens to have their own ideas and actions.
An impressive initiative by the city of Seoul is its goal to achieve 20% electricity self-reliance by 2020. Obviously, renewable energy plays an important role in this transition.
So the solar panels here are installed on top of a filtering reservoir of the water purification plant. That filtering reservoir has a cooling effect, so the solar panel become more efficient. So the average power generation hours in Seoul is 3.1 or 3.2 hours per day. But here, thanks to that cooling effect, the figure is higher than the average, which is 3.7 or 8 hours per day. Seoul Metropolitan Government has this campaign of one less nuclear power plant, and this PV plant contribute to the campaign. So we hope that this type of plant are distributed and expanded around the Seoul city.
Along with renewable energy production, lowering a city's overall energy consumption by constructing buildings and houses that consume very little or no energy is key. One approach is to use passive design.
In any green building, the first thing we have to do is work on passive design, maximizing the energy that we can get from passive design. Passive design means we use a lot of insulation, we use special glass, and special curtain walls to make the envelope optimal so that the energy does not leak through the walls. Let nature work with you instead of trying to work against nature. Let nature cool us and heat us. Passive design techniques allow us to do that, to tap the nature to provide us with our needs. One of the great features of this building are these incredible green walls. It brings nature into our urban environment, and some scientists say that when we see green, it just helps us feel good and relieve our stress. On the whole rooftop, there's solar panels. So this building is generating a lot of renewable energy to provide electricity to this building.
Gothenburg in Sweden has been recognized for its innovative climate strategies, the introduction of green bonds, and for its work to decrease residents' consumption-based carbon emissions. Another key to success is cooperation with academia and the financial sector.
I think the reason for the success story about Gothenburg and the environmental work, and especially climate work, is that we have been good at cooperation. And one example for us is like when we, together with AB Volvo and others, built a completely new electric bus. A bus which didn't exist, but we decided we want that bus. And the city planned in their way, Volvo planned of course with creating the bus, and the bus was there after less than 2 years. And now you can see the light green bus going up and down the streets of Gothenburg.
Gothenburg is a leading city when it comes to looking at the larger picture. For example, taking its residents' consumption-based carbon footprint into account when considering how they impact the environment.
A consumption-based carbon footprint means that when we calculate the emissions in the city from the citizens, we not only look at the emissions that are emitted within the city's borders, we also take into account our consumption of products and services that causes emissions in other countries and other parts of Sweden. By doing so, we also get new perspectives on which climate issues that we have to focus on. Normally, when we have a geographical perspective, that is the traditional way in cities and countries, there's a lot of focus on transport, energy production and industry, and that's important. But with the consumption-based carbon footprints, we also got to focus on the consumption of food, the consumption on air travel and other kind of consumption.
In 2008, Green Bonds was launched by the World Bank as a tool to guarantee that money is invested in sustainable projects. Gothenburg was the first city in the world to issue such bonds.
I think the cornerstone for Green Bonds is the simplicity. The essence of the Green Bond is that it is earmarked money in that way. When we issue a bond, you offer the investors the opportunity to invest in specific projects, so they know exactly where their money is going. So far we have invested in electric cars, biogas production, and also in a water purification filter. When you take those two extremely strong forces, finance and sustainability, and make them move forward together, you create something really exciting actually.
Sometimes there's a political will for sustainable change, but the city lacks the financial resources to see it through. One such example of how to help bridge the gap between private and public sectors is the Swedish company Sustainable Lifestyle Scandinavia.
The world is facing a huge challenge in coming decades, with close to 3 billion people moving into urban districts, which means that we have to take on a sustainable approach in order to build the urban environments. And there we saw that the political will is there, but there is a lack of know-how, knowledge and capital. And that's where we in Sustainable Lifestyle Scandinavia bridge that gap.
The concept has already been proven successful and is now being implemented in the Chongyang County in China, where private capital is fueling the sustainable expansion of the city.
在这么一块处女地上，它的那么原生态的植被以及这些东西，我真是怕这次这个大的工业浪潮当中把它给淹没跟污染，所以我就想尽我最快的速度，尽我最大的所能，带着可持续发展的概念、全生态的概念，对重阳呢建设以及所有城市的发展呢尽一份力，出一份量。
生态资源十分丰富，但是我们的基础设施相对落后。为了更好的在开发中保护，在保护中开发绿色资源，推动生态文明建设，我们愿意广交朋友，共同携手，共建美丽的重阳，发展的重阳。
The first step is making it a demonstration project to secure governmental support. Next step is making the master planning and infrastructure design, and then comes attracting the finance, the capital. And then final step is implementation.
The city of Paris, host to the United Nations Conference on Climate Change, has been recognized for its huge commitment to create a more sustainable city by focusing on sustainable mobility, renewable energy, and the reintroduction of nature in the city.
Mais Paris s'est résolument engagé à les relever en développant des solutions innovantes, de moindre impact sur l'environnement. Parmi les pratiques qui sont les nôtres, par exemple, promouvoir les mobilités douces, renforcer la place de la nature dans la ville, déployer l'économie circulaire ou encore développer des énergies durables.
We have now in Paris a big issue about air pollution. This is big trouble for health as well. So we have decided to develop many measures. On one hand, we give incentive to people that they shift to sustainable mobility. And on the other hand, we have a special program that step by step is going to forbid the most polluted cars within the city by 2020, that just like the cleanest one can circulate it in the city to lower that pollution.
We are subsidizing for taxis and individuals the purchase of clean electric vehicles. Also, the buying of electric bicycles. If you buy an electric bicycle, you get a subsidy of a fourth of the total price from the city of Paris. So we are really pushing very hard on electric vehicles. It's one of our priorities, and now we can see the result. Parisians are promoting the electric vehicles.
Increasing investments in renewable energy and retrofit programs is a clear priority for Paris, as is their Sustainable Development Action Network.
In Paris, we're going to have many action in the next years to implement our climate action plan. But I would say we have three big issues right now. It's to develop green energies in the city. It's also to strengthen our retrofit plan to mitigate GHG emissions, but also to tackle energy poverty. We have in Paris created what we call the Sustainable Development Action Networks, and it gathers individuals, associations, but also startups that make commitments to face climate issues. And instead of being alone in that fight, we are gathering them, helping them to share experiences, to grow bigger, and also to be more known from the Paris population. And this network now is gathering nearly 10% of the Paris population.
Two South African cities, Cape Town and Tshwane, have both been praised for their commitments to sustainable development, while simultaneously battling challenges such as poverty and social inequality.
In the city of Tshwane and in South Africa in general, we are faced with triple challenges that of unemployment, poverty and inequality. So it's important that we are able to skill people to participate in the mainstream economy.
We all have a responsibility as citizens to do what we can to protect the planet from the harmful effects of climate change. And it is an imperative that we see a shift from our reliance on traditional energy sources and look to as many cleaner energy sources as possible.
One of our natural advantages is the number of sun days. So we must exploit that resource. And that's why we're introducing solar powered energy. But we also want to use it to resolve the housing question in our city. So as we expand and give more free houses to the poor, the roof panels must be designed in a manner that we are able to put the solar panels. So in this way you are resolving both an existing and immediate question, but also a future question with regards to your energy mix. And that's how we want to use solar going forward.
It's clear that cities need the support of national politicians and strong policies in order to achieve their real potential and ambitious goals. A combination of both a top-down and bottom-up approach is absolutely necessary and demands a common effort that truly involves city residents.
Changing our energy system to renewable energies is possible, technically possible, but we have to move very fast the economical framework, the legislative framework, we have to inform people, we have to make actions on all levels. I myself on my roof and everyone else in his city, in his municipality and in his region. And if we do that, then we can reach a 100% renewable world in 2050.
Leaders in a city do have to approach individuals to make them partners. It cannot be top-down. People have to embrace solutions and feel that they are part of a new world.